we are for the Garden Report?
It's 9 o'clock somewhere in the world, John. We know that.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, actually. Yeah.
We've had, we had some difficulties pulling this together. You can imagine why Josue is not here. Jimmy, hard at work. Jimmy's got the hard hat. He's just getting home. He's taking off the hard hat, putting on the headphones. He'll be jumping on in a second. Bobby Manning is in New York. Had a nice Greek meal tonight. That was West Side, right?
East Side.
West Village. Oh, East. Well, that was East. Okay,
East
I couldn't
Village,
remember which one that was. And he'll be covering the Knicks on site tomorrow, along with Josue. Sherrod Blakely and I will be holding down the fort from home. And Jimmy, like I said, he'll be here any second now. And we're going to get into our season preview and some silly, we call them predictions. Some of them are real, some of them are ridiculous. But there's always a germ of truth, even in the ones that are a little bit sillier. So we'll kind of break it on down now. But general theme of this team before we get into our specific predictions is theirs to lose. It's a potential wagon.
Yeah.
Some other wagons in the league too. We're watching one right now, so I don't think they're one of one, but they're in that mix of, call it 2, 3, 4 teams that have a serious chance this year. And you might rank them at the top, you might rank them number 2, but the expectation is championship. Nothing short of that. Maybe like a 7-game battle will suffice for fans, given the team they have here.
Nope. Don't care about 7-game. No.
Oh, so even game 7 at the buzzer, Sherrod.
Bobby, I'm tired of this participation trophy mindset. Hell, it's either championship bling or bust. I don't want to hear anything in between.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
I've seen them look at the ring and damn near try it on and be like, nah, we're just gonna, make 8 turnovers in the pivotal game. We're gonna have a sore wrist. We're gonna be load managing in the playoffs. No, Bobby, no. Championship bling or bust. I'm not trying to hear anything.
And here's why, Bobby. Yes, there can be other good teams there. And and that's not the point. You can't get better than this. And you are in. I'm sorry. We go over this a lot. This is the Jays' prime, the beginning of it. So this is as good as it's going to get. The veteran pieces you have on this team get older. So you've got a 2-year window really to get this thing done.
Yeah.
And it starts now. And there's no excuse outside of a series of catastrophic injuries. And if that happens, there's nothing you can do.
Recalibrate the expectations then.
Yeah, no teams can survive injuries to your best players. But if you enter the playoffs anywhere near full health with this team, there's really no excuse at this point. This is a championship team. It's built to win, as SS Austin puts it here. It's chip or bust. So, exactly. And that's that. What are your reservations, Bobby? And we'll get into our final predictions later in the show after we do some of the goofier stuff. But what are your reservations here? Is it about the team itself, or you're just so enamored with Denver and what they were able to do last year that you think that they're unbeatable?
It's a little bit of both. It's more them, obviously, because you're not going to see the West until you get there, and the West is such a gauntlet that you look at Denver and say, all right, they got to get through that. I expect them to, but you'll see them in June if you see them. So that's the positive, is that the real juggernaut here, this potential dynasty in Denver, is on the other side, and something could happen and we might not see them. But the Celtics, my pause, and I've been thinking about it all day, last couple of days here. There's so much positivity around this team. There's so much hype, and just everything's been awesome out of camp. Because I still have that tiniest bit of pause, and it's the Jays. Are they ready? Can they make the plays? Can they play with the consistency and the togetherness with the other players? We've seen the last couple of years, John, the problem hasn't been talent around them since 2021. They've had some awesome players around them. None this good, as you wrote in your preview, John. This is the best team since 2008. They've become overwhelming with their talent here. Are those centerpiece guys who are going to have the ball in their hands?
Yeah! He made it.
Before Jimmy gets in there, Jimmy, we're just kind of going around the world
said.
here on the championship or bust, and we'll get into our predictions a little later. But we keep talking about 2008 best team since 2008. Talent wise, I liken this
Yes.
as a situation the same as 2008.
2009, though. They were still pretty good.
I'm saying when that team was formed, they had a 3-year window to win.
Yeah.
KG doesn't get hurt. They keep winning championships. But, again, that was their window. So 2008, it came together fast, and everyone was like, wow, I never expect. That's what they were brought together to do. They were brought together to win a title that year. This team's brought together to win a title this year. And if they don't, I'm going to bring it back to the Jays. And I think that's going to be the thing. I know a lot of people are going to put a lot of weight on Joe.
Sounds like you read my predictions.
They'll put a lot of weight on Joe. And if they do falter, Joe's going to feel it. But that's just because you can't really change anything else at this point. If it's not working with Joe at the helm, yeah, I could see a quick trigger. I think it would have to be disastrously bad for it to happen mid-season. But they fall short. They fall short and lose second round conference finals. I don't think Joe coaches his team next year, regardless of how good a job he did or whether it was his fault, because you got to maximize your opportunity. So that's where we're at with it. Jimmy, what do you? I know where
you're at. What did I miss, fellas?
That's it. We were kind of spinning our wheels, waiting for you to get in there before we get into some of our other stuff. We're going to get into our bold predictions in a little bit, but I'll let you kind of give it a little introductory ramble if you want.
Listen, season preview, so everyone kind of gave like their just brief synopsis of what
championship or bust, right?
I mean that's okay. So that's if you guys log on to CLNS.com. Bobby's posted the article earlier today. We all put our predictions. Mine's simple. Championship or bust. That's what I wrote, basically. I mean, you look at the roster. Tatum and Brown are in their prime right off the bat, right? Everyone's been saying, they're at the point where we can say they're in their prime now, right? We're at the beginning of their primes here. So there's no more excuses for they're not there yet. Listen, Jaylen Brown just got a $300 million contract. He better be in his prime, right? So same with Tatum. He's going to get the same thing next year. So those guys are leading the charge. Brad Stevens, in my opinion, did everything he could and needed to do this offseason to put this team in a position to win a championship. And I will be disappointed if it's anything less. And I think if you're a Celtics fan, you should feel the same exact way. The excuses are gone. They're built to win a championship. They shorted up on the defensive end. They brought in a big guy in Porzingis. They got a guy who's won a championship before in Holiday. Unbelievable trade that Stevens pulled off there right before the summer season begins here. And yeah, are they a little thin on the bench? Sure, but look around the league, and they're probably not that far off. And there might be some guys that step up, right? We're talking about Pritchard, Bobby's guy. I'm not even going to say his name. The big man there.
Yeah.
And there's a few guys in and out that I think are going to have to step up, obviously, right? And then I think this is going to be a team that should be a number one or a top option for, and again, it's the buyout market, but there's usually one or two guys that might be able to help, and that might just be what they need.
Yeah, they can't do buyouts.
Can't do it this year.
What?
They went over the apron line.
Oh, stupid CBA. All right, then that's it. I take it back. They're not going to win a championship.
You better find someone else.
If they can't get the buyout guy, then that's the end of it.
No, it's gonna.
Blake is Blake in the
Troy
mix?
Murphy's not walking through that door, Bob. Is that what you're saying, Jerry? Troy Murphy's not walking through that door. So no championship.
Oh man.
Blake, give Blake a call.
PJ Brown.
I imagine we all feel that door. Well, listen, we joke, but PJ Brown and Sam Cassell, they were huge for that team. I'm not saying that was the difference.
Could Sam Cassell be huge for this team?
Yeah, I think he's going to have to be.
He could be.
But it sounds like we're all on the same page. It sounds like we all have very high expectations for this team.
You have to.
And if you don't, and if you want to coddle them and baby them along, then guess what? You're an enabler. You're just an enabler, and you don't have any spine.
Yes, you are. Here's the thing: is
this is a team built to win. Say it. They would all say it from top on. Like our goal is to win a championship.
Yeah.
whether you thought any of the anger towards this team was justified over the last couple of years, and I know there are people out there like, come on, they're getting far. Look at 4 conference finals.
No, everybody
Right.
was angry in May. They might have calmed down a little bit, but
I don't want to hear it anymore.
No, it's over.
If you keep stacking the resume of Brown and Tatum with their conference finals appearances, I want you out of here. I don't want you in this room. Like, I don't want to do that again. Okay. We have to evolve. We got to grow up. Okay. Championship or bust. We all agree here. We're going to roll through some of our some not so bold predictions.
Love this.
Yeah.
Love this comment. Fact. Yeah. That's the Garden Report effect right there, folks.
That's my
You wouldn't be
dog.
watching the Garden Report if that wasn't the case.
Yeah. All right, we're going to start with our bold predictions. And again, I'm calling this one bold because, again, we're talking about Manning Island here, right? Like,
Wow.
this is
It's not a place
Bobby.
you want to find yourself.
You don't want to be on Manning Island, and here it is. Let's put it up on the screen.
Damn.
With Bobby. Sounded improbable to begin camp. I'm convinced Holiday could come off the Celtics bench at least for a portion of the season. He arrived several weeks ago. Here we go. It's got to take time. Bench role gives him more time with the ball in his hands to connect with his new teammates. Is this like kindergarten? Like
All those words just to be wrong. Imagine.
Yeah. Late
Imagine
game
that.
ball handling makes sense to keep him in the role throughout the game, especially if the team has any doubts about Brown and Pritchard as second unit facilitators, which I think is fair. Missoula's going to start a lot of lineups and yada, yada, yada. And here we go. So you're sticking with this one, huh?
I have
He
to.
has to.
I have to.
He has to.
Now, I think over
Last week on the show, he made that bed.
Yeah, and it's gonna change, right? I think opening night you try this. Maybe you try it for a couple of games here and see how it goes. But they want to have Horford and Porzingis together out there, and I know Sherrod wrote that he'd lean with White. I don't want to see White on the bench just because he'll put his hand up and say, "I'm all for this. Send me down. Take away shots from me. I'm the ultimate teammate." You need to emphasize him. You need to empower him because he was such a big part of the team last year.
Bobby, I think it's going to be just the opposite because he's going to come off with that second unit and look around and like, oh, there's no Tatum, there's no Jalen, there's no Porzingis. Guess what I got to do, fellas? I got to take shots. I think having Derek White come off the bench is perfect this time around because they have more firepower when he is not in the game now. They don't need him to be that guy. And if he gets it rolling through the first 3 quarters of play, guess what? He's going to be on the floor down the stretch. He's still going to wind up playing like 30 or so minutes coming off the bench. And Drew Holiday starting fewer than 50 games. It's been a damn near decade since Drew had a season like that. The last 8 seasons, Drew has started more than 50 games. Why in the world would that start now? Particularly when you're talking about a guy who is built to be the best on-ball defender in the NBA, which is something that you obviously, if you're the Celtics, you want that out there at the beginning of the game because that's the tone.
That's what I said.
I will say this. I believe that this. If Holiday doesn't not start that first game of that first stupid preseason game. What's up, Jimmy?
I'm trying to figure out what you just said.
If Holiday doesn't not start.
Yeah, it doesn't not, shouldn't, couldn't,
negative.
wouldn't.
Gotcha.
Seriously, that first game when Holiday comes off the bench changes, and all of a sudden everyone lost their damn minds. Then this, could it happen? Would it happen? That's crazy, right? And I think people overdid it a little bit with the investigative aspect. I'm hearing maybe this could actually be
So it wasn't your suspicion, John, and I do buy into this a little bit. The Al thing. Did they need time to get Al okay?
Telling Al, I'm 100%, not 100%. As a hunch, this isn't reporting. This is what we're guessing here. I strongly believe that. I really do believe this is the whole Tatum is 6'10" thing, and somebody heard it once and then they ran with it and people believed it for 3 years. He's not. He's 6'8". It was a joke. So is Holiday coming off the bench. It's a freaking joke. So we got to move past it. It's never going to happen. He's starting every game that he's healthy enough to play.
Bobby, I feel like Derek White makes so much sense for the reserve.
It's the easy
hybrid.
choice.
bench roll. Oh, sometimes the
it's a
easy
smart
choice
choice.
is the right
That's-
choice.
It's a smart choice.
Yeah, you don't have to make it difficult on yourself. You have the best on-ball defender in the NBA. Yeah, let's let the opposing team's best players just get hot for the first 6 minutes and then put Drew
Hey,
Holiday
White's
in
not a
down,
schmuck himself
down
defensively.
12. He's not, but he's not Drew Holiday either. So
Did you call him a schmuck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
not
at the highest level.
but
He's the opposite of a schmuck.
Also, who's going to have
He's the anti-schmuck of schmucks.
Yeah.
who's going to have a better connection with the bench guys? Drew Holiday, who hasn't played with them before, or Derek White, has a
Well, that's part of my
history.
thinking, Jimmy, is that he hasn't played with these guys. He's been here a couple weeks. He's still catching up, acclimating. He's had a few rough
It's
moments during the
basketball, Bobby.
preseason.
You just go out there and play sometimes,
And
you just
he's
figure it out.
gonna play a lot. This is what I told you when we went back and forth about this. It's still gonna be 30+ minutes. He's still gonna close. It's just about the rotations and making sure you line up the two bigs together. I like White's minutes lined up with the starters. And going back, I know you said he hasn't come off the bench a lot, Sherrod, but he has played a lot of games without Giannis and without Middleton out there, where he's run the show off the bench.
Well, let's stay on this.
Starting, of course, but he's run the show and he's done a great job.
Let's switch to Sherrod's take. One of his predictions: Derek White will barely qualify as a reserve, but he'll come off the bench enough to be named the league's sixth man. That would lead me to believe we play a fair amount of double big if that's the case. Sherrod, do you think that's in the cards?
Yeah, I do. I think Joe is going to dig his heels on the double bigs as a group to go with extended minutes. I am not the biggest fan of the double bigs because I think that ultimately, the deeper you get into the season, the more it becomes apparent that that's just not going to get you a chip. It's just not. It can get you some wins during the regular season and position you with a higher seed, but I don't believe that's going to be the lineup that's going to win you a championship. I think you're going to have to go more traditional. And Derek White is that hybrid guy, the guy that's kind of like in the lineup, out of the lineup, in the lineup, out of the starting lineup. And that's okay. Derek, he's shown that he has the ability to frankly go back and forth and it not be an issue. And that's my concern with having Drew Holiday not be a full-time starter or not be a full-time reserve. I don't think Drew at this point in his career is built to go back and forth. You either make him a regular starter, which I think he will be, and I think he deserves to be that, or you bring him off the bench.
And he is.
I don't think there's an in-between with him. I don't think he can flow back and forth like Derek White can.
He won't have to, Sherrod. This is just filler. This is filler convo. It ain't happening. There's just no way. Joe Mazzulla's not going to put his job on the line.
It's like talking about what you're going to do if you encounter a Yeti in the woods. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, why spend any time preparing for it?
Because Bobby brought this to the table, and damn it, we're going to eat.
Bobby, you think they're
going to eat this?
Look at this one. Why is this even a debate?
Sherrod, do you think they're going to have one lineup mostly, and it's going to be mostly White coming off the bench with this prediction?
I think they're going to fluctuate in part because of who they're playing, and in part because of load management. There are going to be games where White's going to be in that starting lineup because they need to give Al a rest. They're going to be times where the matchup is going to be one that they feel need.
The people have spoken. We are moving on. Jimmy Toscano likes the little fella. He likes Fast P.
Gotta stick together.
What a horrible nickname, Fast P. What did we decide?
That's not his nickname for me.
It's friggin' the Boston Pea Party.
Someone in our chat came up with that.
That was great.
I'm not ever giving that one up. That's Boston Pea Party. In the write-up, I even said Boston Pea Party will be officially born.
It's hard to explain to people, but it's great.
Yeah, I think Pritchard, does his thing, which is shoot threes. Going to have a much bigger role this year. He's going to get enough burn and hit enough threes to get an invite to the three-point contest, which, let's be honest, it's not the most.
10 threes per game for Pritchard in the preseason.
Look at that. And so, there you go. It's right there. I don't have to say it. I think he shoots well enough to go off the bench. Then he goes full pro-am mode at the event. He may not miss, and Boston's Pea Party is officially born. My only concern is that the three-point line is too close for him. And again, it's a bold prediction.
There's definitely not that many L's in the word officially.
How many did I put in?
There was a few, quite a few.
Well, Bobby's supposed to be the editor.
That was like Jimmy after 7 drinks. Officially.
Hear me out, guys. He's going to win the three-point contest. Listen, it's a bold prediction. all to basically say that I think Pritchard's going to have a bigger role, and I know he's going to have a bigger role, obviously, but I think he's going to be effective for them off the bench, and he's going to hit those shots. And he's the type of guy that will like actually try his ass off and win that competition if he's in it. Like he's going to be
Right.
taking shots like the week leading up to it. You know,
Will
so
Hauser make it?
no,
No.
Hauser might not make the team.
Facts.
You're waving Hauser, Josue's waving Cornette. It's just waving everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's getting ugly. Let's move along. To a Zannis prediction.
Oh, this should be
This
good.
is gonna be good.
This should be good.
No, we're just staying on theme here. Sam Hauser falling out of the rotation by December.
I hope not, but damn it, I can't argue against you with this.
I hope not, and here's my reasoning, and I'll put it on the screen again, and this is what I wrote. He needed to play last year. They needed shooting. They don't need it as much this year. They've got in their top 6, everyone can shoot, and they're playing the bulk of the minutes. Assuming Holiday and White start, I will hear nothing else. You know, Pritchard's the first guard off the bench, so that's 7. You got other options of guys who can shoot and well enough on their own. There'll be minutes available.
Dude, you're giving away my prediction.
For more capable defenders like Lamar Stevens, eventually Jordan Walsh. Hauser will legit have to shoot 50% from 3 to justify his spot in here. Not saying he won't, but my fear with Hauser is it's going to very much be okay, here's a couple minutes. I missed my first 2 shots. You don't see him again for the rest of the night. I don't think he's an automatic staple in that rotation. I think he's very movable. And if he's not shooting like blistering pace of 3, I don't know that he's got a set role on this team. I don't think he's the automatic 8th guy here.
No,
there's guys who can do it. Like, and again, let's throw out the best defensive rating garbage. Like, we know what Hauser is a defender. I don't think he embarrassed himself, but he's certainly a liability. He's certainly someone teams are going to hunt. The strategy on whether or not hunting a player is a good strategy or not is obviously debatable, because you can take yourself out of your rhythm and, you know, you get really one-dimensional and everybody knows what's coming. But I don't know. I'm not feeling Hauser as much this year.
Well, the problem, John, with Sam is that he literally steps on the floor and has one primary job to do: knock down open shots. That's if he does that consistently, he has nothing to worry about. But even when, as you pointed out, John, they needed someone to be a reliable shooter, he was inconsistent at best, and that's being very generous. His numbers might look really good, but if the eye test tells you a completely different story, some nights he was incredibly hot, other nights he was just a non-factor, and yet the shot profile was essentially the same. So I hate the idea that he's going to be out of the rotation, but he's going to be out of the rotation. He's going to play his way out of it.
I wonder how much they'll lean on him just because they're so familiar with him. Haven't played him 80 games last year.
I don't think that matters, because I don't think they really wanted to play him that. I mean, like, I think.
But is anyone else off the bench you're really excited to pivot to? I mean,
it's not excited, but it's not.
I want a guy to make shots.
There's options. The thing is here is when you talk about deep bench, no, they don't have a deep bench in the sense that, like, Grant was someone who, again, theoretically you thought you could count on, even though he played him his way out of the rotation last year. But you don't feel solid like, yeah. These first 8, absolutely. Like, Hauser's not that guy. It's not cemented by any means. So he's no more spectacular or no more of a fixture than any of the other guys they brought in, many of whom played actual minutes on other teams last year. Why is
he has a slight leg up on them with the shooting?
That's what I'm not sure about.
I mean, he's been 40% every year of his career going back to college now.
He is.
You know, through Maine.
But you're not going to get that from Svi. Brissett shoots close to that clip as well. You know, like, you have other guys who can also shoot it. If that's all he's doing, shooting around 40%, is he doing enough else to justify being on the court?
And what you're looking at is last year there was that 2-month stretch where he shot like 28% from 3. It wouldn't have lasted that long if you had the options this year. So that's where I think you'll be right. But I think they'll always lean toward him when push comes to shove and everybody's available. And, you know, I don't think he'll get too lost here. I don't think any of these other guys are going to take that position and run with it. I do love Lamar Stevens as a hustle energy guy. And, you know, other than that, we'll see. Svi, it's going to be a struggle for him defensively, I think, even more so than Hauser.
Yeah. So
Lamar gets you easy points because of his effort. And he's a good defender.
He had a really nice preseason.
Okay, yeah. We're switching it back to Bobby. Malcolm Brogdon becomes the most missed departure on the team, more so than Rob, more so than Smart. Interesting. What's your rationale
very,
here?
very bold, because you hated Brogdon.
You hated him.
I didn't hate him. I said all year his
You said I
consistency.
hate
and you
him.
hate.
You said you hated his
you-
family.
Yeah, and yeah,
No, that is
and
not
you hate
accurate.
Holiday.
Yeah, you hate guards.
Malcolm,
We'll let you talk.
Malcolm, to me, the fact that he's probably going to get traded somewhere in the season this year makes him a bigger threat. And who are the teams that could use a guy like that? Philly, Miami, especially so. Now Miami's going to have to go back to Portland and deal with them, which seems unlikely at this point. But if they do go out there and get him, which can't cost much more than Lowry's salary and a draft pick maybe, this is a guy who scares you on the Heat, right? Especially with some motivation to go out there and beat you in a series after you traded him and all the rest. This is something I think is very feasible here. And
I want to get
guys,
to the end of this prediction.
how many times have we said it?
Has nothing to do with Brogdon, but he had to put that in there.
I want to get to the end of that one. Somehow you snuck in a Grant Williams revenge game into this.
Yeah.
How many times have we said, if you see Miami on the other side of a playoff series, forget all the talent the Celtics have stacked up now and all the changes they made and all the things the Heat lost, you're still going to be scared, aren't you?
No.
You're not going to end. Jimmy, you're
Not
going to
this
go
year.
into a series with the Miami Heat after what we watched the last couple of years and say, yeah, they'll
It's
blow
a
through
different
them.
it's a different Celtics team. If they're healthy,
All
I'm riding with the Celtics.
All right,
Also,
I'm too
I don't think
scarred
they're-
by the past.
Listen, Bobby, I get it. I refused to pick this Celtics team for as many years back as you want to go because I didn't trust their DNA. But I think there's some guys that they've added, mix it up a little bit. I'm not saying the guys that left were the problem, but you switched it up. The talent's there. They got a guy who's won a title. He's a leader. They got a guy in Porzingis who is modern day Kevin Garnett, better than Kevin Garnett as best.
Whoa. Jimmy, slow down.
So this is it now. A couple preseason games.
This is the bold prediction,
He
right?
knows what he did. He knows
A
what
couple
he did. He was
preseason
smiling.
games.
What the hell just happened?
Jimmy, you better get a
the
ticket right
man
next to
cook.
John with the towel and start waving it.
This is why I'm going all in on them this year, as opposed to and the Heat, Bobby. Yeah, the Heat out toughed them last year. They wanted it more than them. I just don't know. I'm not ready to say that that's the case. I'm not going to say that's the case until the playoffs start, and I'll make my assumptions at that point. But I don't think they're going to miss Malcolm Brogdon because they got Drew Holiday. So I don't think they're going to miss Malcolm Brogdon.
It's not about. Oh, we shouldn't have done this.
I know, but Bobby, you can't have everything, right? Like, it's almost like I want the thing in the store, but I don't want to pay for it. You know, like, do you want it or not?
It's called
Like,
stealing.
you
can have
did it. You can't have Holiday and Brogdon and Rob and Kristaps, like somewhere along the line you had to. So if you like the thing you got better, you can't say that I'm going to miss the thing I gave up. Like, then it doesn't work that way. Like,
Well, look at the Bucks. The Bucks got Damian Lillard, and they're gonna love him. But when they see Drew Holiday on the other side, they're gonna be like, "Oh, geez."
But that's how you analyze good trade, bad trade. You can't say I wish I had both.
Right. So the Celtics, we'll see how it goes. You know, like if Brogdon's a major contributor to Miami and he helps them beat you, you won't regret it at all.
No,
He's not even on Miami. He's not even on Miami.
We're making so many leaps here.
Sorry for being bold. I
No,
go a
I
little
like
easy
it.
last
There's
year.
bold and then there's delusional.
No, it's not that. It's how about this? Forget about Miami.
If I said Tatum MVP, it would have been not bold enough.
It's fine. Let's assess it this way. You actually think of all of the people that they'll miss, Brogdon's kind of, because somebody put it in the comment, Brogdon's kind of instant microwave scoring off the bench,
Right,
which I
it's
think
something
was
you don't
valuable.
have. Yeah.
That's something I think you will miss that second unit scoring because Brogdon carried it at times versus Rob's defensive versatility versus Marcus Smart's smartiness, everything that he brought. Which of the three is the thing that the team will miss most? Forget about placing Brogdon in Miami. Just which of those things that they had last year? Smart's grit, Rob's defensive presence, or Brogdon's instant offense?
Well, you have Holiday in Smart's place, so you feel good about that.
So I think you negate Smart almost completely.
Yeah.
With Holiday, 100%.
if Horford has the same year he did last year, I think he fills what Grant brought to the table. And
I wasn't even
Rob.
considering Grant.
Yeah.
And Rob's a good one. Yeah,
I think
the
Rob's
thing is,
the guy.
Porzingis' post defense, I do believe, and I think that's up for debate. But I've loved what I've seen from him in that role. So
I think it's fair to say Brogdon's offense, that instant offense, was a thing.
If Payton can't be consistent in that role,
because he's the only. Here's the thing: he was the only other guy outside of the reason it's not is because all of those guys are in the starting lineup now. But he was the only guy, and again,
he shot 44% from three.
Obviously, it's not youth league basketball. You're not subbing in 5 for 5, so there's still going to be some starters on the floor with him. But Brogdon made it so. Here's Brogdon's value. He made it so you could have 1J off and have the whole offense not tank. Whereas before Brogdon, that was a huge issue. Where when 1J was missing, it was a disaster offensively. The reason I don't think it's going to be as bad this year is because you're just going to mix and match differently, and there'll always be one of White, Holiday, Kristaps. There's always going to be 2 of those guys on the court almost at all times. Plus, so it won't matter as much. It's not going to fall just on Pritchard to play the Brogdon role. That B unit is going to have Porzingis and Brown along with whatever, and that's going to be able to give you enough offense. So I don't think you'll miss it as much. That's my thing.
It's that question of depth versus the top heavy approach you've gone with here, and I think it's easy to say the top end talent's going to prevail, and you'll figure out the rest down below. But if Pritchard struggles this year, you will be saying, "Oh, geez, that was a spot Brogdon really held down last year."
Speaking of which, all those
sixth man of the year,
all those moves were already made. Sherrod thinks Brad Stevens Executive of the Year because they really can't do anything anymore. That means the work is done. They don't really have anybody to trade or flexibility to trade at this point. They can't sign anybody. They can't do anything else. So Brad's like that sales guy.
Brad's chilling.
Who friggin' hits his number in January and then goes golfing for 11 months.
Yeah, Brad can go on vacation now.
One big sale. I hit my number. I'm out of here, guys. I'll see you later. And that's it. You know,
he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
So true. That's the perfect comparison. The difference would be if it all falls apart.
Yeah, exactly. But there's not much you can do maneuverability. But at this point, you're right. This is how it ends, Sherrod. If he did it already, he did the pre-2008 swing the big three trade. He did it, right?
Yeah. I mean, you look back at the way last season ended.
Brad did the dub.
Yeah, a couple things jumped out. The fact that they didn't have an alternative as a stretch big, and they could have used a little bit more of an impact player in the backcourt. And what does Brad do? He goes out and gets Drew Holiday, arguably the best two-way point guard in the NBA. And then he goes out and asks Porzingis, a 7'3". He was a unicorn before Wemby, and before Chet in Oklahoma City. Porzingis was that guy. And so he addressed their biggest needs.
Is that guy.
Right. And then he started, and then he added some fringe players. And again, Peyton Pritchard, I think, is going to be one of those guys that if this team was a championship and we start talking about the guys who really elevated their play, Peyton is going to be one of those guys. And you're going to start thinking about the contract that Peyton signed and how sweet a deal. I think if he's able to play even close to what I think he's capable of, that's going to look like a major, team-friendly deal. So Brad absolutely is to me, as we start the season off, I would have to say he would be the front runner. If this team at the end of the day is where they're supposed to be, which is playing in the NBA Finals, yeah, I think Brad would be the executive of the year.
It's hard to argue. It's hard to argue he hasn't already done it, right?
Who would be close?
Daryl Morey.
Oh, yeah, Morey's done a great job.
Yeah.
Guy.
Milwaukee, maybe. Lillard blows up and they top seed. But yeah, it's not a ton of competition.
Jumping along here. Zannis.
Good
Zannis
prediction.
Guy. 3 Celtics make all NBA. None of them are Jaylen Brown.
Whoa.
Tatum, Brown, Porzingis.
Wow, that's bold.
Now remember, it's positionless this year.
I know.
Nice. Makes it a little harder for Porzingis.
So you got Tatum, Porzingis, and Holiday making it.
But I did this as a bait and switch. I actually don't think it's I don't actually think it's slander, nor do I think it's an indictment on Brown. I actually think for the first time ever, Brown won't be asked to do too much because he won't need to do it. Okay. That's kind of
So I feel.
that's kind of my point is,
So it's good that they just gave him $300 million.
I ask everybody to go to Basketball Reference, look at Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce's stats in 2007 on their 3 respective teams. Welcome. then go to 2008 and look at the stats
on his birthday.
That team. And look, I'm sorry. There's another one in there too. There's another Brown.
Ooh, yeah.
I was going to do
sure
4 of them. But
I got a Brown
all of them, their shots went down. Like I said, how many shots a game do you think Paul Pierce and Ray Allen averaged in 2008?
12.
13 and a half.
Yeah.
Way down. Everybody's up in the night. Everyone was a star. Brown doesn't need to be that. So it's one of 2 things here. He embraces this role, plays a much cleaner, more efficient version of what he's capable of, doesn't end up on second unit islands by himself with a bunch of nobodies around him as the only guy who can possibly score, have the entire defense key on him, put him in a position where he's just got to dribble the air out of the ball and drive it into nowhere because he's the only guy out there who has any chance of creating offense. He won't have to do that anymore. He gets to just be Jalen, but 21, 22-point Jalen might not be good enough to make all NBA and all-star teams because those numbers aren't going to be there like they were the year before. So the numbers might dip, but he might be an overall better player.
Do you think he'll have the ball in his hands in those second unit situations?
Well, that's
what didn't go well last year.
I think he's always going to be with. No, it doesn't. And teams, that's when Miami's like, zone it up, like let's go. the second that happens. So no, I don't think they'll put him in that position, but I don't think they have to. Because again, you're always going to have a couple of guys. It's going to be him and White or him and Holiday or him and somebody else in there where he's not going to have to be the only guy.
Could be Holiday.
What if Jalen's your 6th man?
I like it.
Whoa. Anchoring the bench unit? Scoring all of their points.
Jimmy, you should have written that one.
That would have been a bold as F prediction.
That would have been.
But John, I see. I get why this is a bold take of yours. I get it. I see what you're saying. I actually wrote something somewhat similar on a different prediction of mine, where I just think he's not going to be tasked to do the thing that he does so well. Which I don't know. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? You just gave him $300 million because he can do that one thing really well, and now he doesn't have to do it as much. So I don't know. I want to see it all. I want to see a few games of this lineup, and I want to see how he fits in. And I think Bobby, you mentioned it. Like all eyes are going to be on him and how he kind of fits into this whole thing.
Yeah, no, he's the guy who I think has to sacrifice the most. So look at Porzingis, they'll be targeting him. Is
this could be a little Ray Allen syndrome here. Like Allen sacrificed, but he didn't love it. He didn't love it. Right.
No. And then he got blackballed in the end.
And everybody's saying right now, sacrifice.
Which goes to my other Jaylen Brown prediction. Jaylen Brown does one vague, rambling, head-scratching interview. Media will be blamed for taking exact quotes out of context.
I have a feeling it won't be with us.
Probably.
Is that bold enough? I don't know if that's bold enough. Unless you think he might do more than one.
No, he got the contract. He's not going to do it, is he?
It's not. I don't know. Certainly can see it happen.
He did do 2 last year.
One less than he did last year, so an improvement. Underappreciated.
It wouldn't be about. You wouldn't be talking about like contracts, or it wouldn't be talking about what I'm worth and this stuff. But that's the thing about Jaylen Brown now is he's been able to use that as like motivation, and a lot of guys thrive off like that sort of negativity, and they use that as motivation. What's he going to use for motivation now that he's got that? I'm not saying that he won't be motivated, but I'm interested to see what's going to get him going because he got paid. He can't say that he's not worth it or that people don't think he's worth it. What do you giggling?
Right, there shouldn't be any individual aspirations on this team that rise above the teams. Like, what does anyone have to prove?
Everything, Bob.
In fact, I know you're putting the focus on Brown here, John, but to shift it over to Tatum, is the MVP a big thing for him this year? Joe said a couple weeks ago, I bet if you asked Tatum, he'd rather win a championship than MVP.
I hope so.
That's pretty standard, for really good players to win a championship.
I don't think that's supposed to be like that's a rhetorical question, right? Like,
yeah, So that's been the messaging out of camp so far. Everybody's ready to sacrifice. Everybody's ready to take less shots. But I think for the guys who you expect to do that, it's a given. Like Porzingis we saw him take less money on the contract. We saw Holiday.
Holiday's going to sacrifice. White's willing to sacrifice. That's the whole point. Is the question comes down to this?
It's the Jays.
Like, do the Jays still have to get theirs to be happy, or are they going to be happy with less? Which is to say, like, it's a waste of all of the talent that you have if these guys are putting up 21, 22 shots a game still. That doesn't make sense. It's not the most efficient. You're not maximizing what you're getting. You're reducing players that can do a lot more to less, and that doesn't make sense. If they accept it, and that's the thing is, it's harder to win MVP. Like KG, like that's hard to do what he did in 2008 to take less and to still be the man. Like it's harder to win MVP when you're part of like, the whole, like an ensemble cast.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be an adjustment for these guys. They've been running the show for a couple of years here, and the other guys have fallen in line. And it does worry me a little bit, Jimmy, because some of these new guys, and it started when they acquired Porzingis, with Brad saying, sometimes the best thing you can do is just try to fit in here. And, Drew's talking about, it's all about the Jays, and, we're just going to try to help these guys out. You should be coming in here trying to make an impact, and they should be trying to empower these guys and make them the best players on the court on any given night.
For those who were like really focused on the 2008 season, KG was the freaking MVP of the league that year, but he didn't have the numbers to be MVP of the league that year. So Kobe gets it because he's got big, sexy Kobe numbers. Like it's hard to be an MVP and be part of a complete team where there's a bunch of buy-in and sacrifice. So if we're sitting here and we're having these conversations about, well, I hope Paul Pierce is telling them and they're going to soak it in of what all of this stuff is. And well, I guess we'll see, right? Because that's important. Like it doesn't.
I think that's got to be part of that message, though.
It does. I hope so. It doesn't work if that message isn't kind of taken in. If the attitude is like, I actually look forward to having to do less and incorporating more of my teammates here, because now you have to be able to have trust in this supporting cast because it's the best one they've ever had.
And I do think they'll do a good job with it. I do.
I'm hopeful. That's why I put the first thing. He might not make all NBA, but be a better team. Another prediction we're certain is going to come true. Kristaps Porzingis saves a baby from a burning building.
Mm-hmm. Very, very dangerous situation.
Yeah, this is exactly.
But then he on his way to the Garden, and he still does his thing, 25, 10, and 7. That's just the kind of guy I think the Celtics
7 blocks.
7 blocks, 7 assists. Yeah, I guess I wasn't specific. It could be 7 blocks. Maybe he goes 7 blocks and 7 assists. But bottom line is, and it's all right here, he's Kevin Garnett, Larry Bird sprinkling a bit at Steph Curry. I think that really explains Kristaps Porzingis as best as I could.
I hope you bought another towel for Jimmy John.
When it's all over, he'll have his number retired, a statue outside, in Little Latvia neighborhood carved out of the North End. There's a little corner of the North End that's not really put to good use, where I think they could really make something happen there. And,
you need to get season tickets, Jimmy.
You're so close. The amount of moments to Sherrod, how many moments per hour does Sherrod rub his head like, why am I doing this show with these people?
I was so close to being with you, Jimmy, and then you did you
didn't like Little Latvia?
The KG, Larry Bird, Steph Curry sprinkle Sunday thing. And then you got Little Latvia in the North End. Oh, Jimmy.
When you come from like Charlestown in the North End, and instead of going right to the TD Garden, you go left, like that whole corner of the North End, like they're apartments, they're condos. Like you could make a little something cultural. Little Latvia.
We're all having friggin' bacon buns, Latvian bacon buns.
Well, here. So you eat in the North End, you're drinking Little Latvia because they're big on beer in Latvia. A lot of people don't know that. But I did some research, and
I know homeschooling paid off right there.
I have a feeling. Listen, bottom line is, I think Porzingis is going to be unbelievable.
He just has to stay healthy.
I've seen
He
enough.
does look great. He really does.
He's borderline appointment television as far as I'm concerned. So I'm locked in. I'm riding that bandwagon all the way through Little Latvia, down Hanover Street, loop it around. I'm talking about the championship parade.
The duck boats, right?
Yeah, with Porzingis in the first one.
And the trophy back to
So-
Latvia. I mean, he's in a great situation, Jimmy. We talked about this. Knicks to start his career, terrible. The Mavs situation was all screwed up for a number of reasons. Washington's Washington.
Yep.
And then now he's on a team as a third, fourth option here that's going to be open all the time and drawing attention to himself to free up other guys. You really see why they targeted him and made him a priority. He's a great fit, but
And they
needs
already
the help.
extended him. That might end up being an absolute steal signing from Sherrod's GM of the year.
Right. And that was the reason I didn't love the trade at the time. It was an expiring contract, but they got a team-friendly deal, and he looks fresh. He does, but it's a long season. We'll see how they manage him. We'll see how he holds up. Like we said, John, every time he falls to the ground, it's going to be scary.
Every time he goes up. But it's not like Rob, who doesn't know
John,
where.
you must be a Porzingis guy now. Like Rob, you just said Rob, but I know that your thing says I miss Rob, but I think Porzingis is going to make everybody forget Rob. It might even make Rob forget Rob. Does Rob even know what's going on out there in Portland? I heard that he's not even playing. Is that true?
He's ready for opening night, which is good.
He? Interesting. We'll see. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Rob.
I don't know. We'll tell you guys real quick message from our sponsors here. And again, NBA action about to begin. NFL is in full swing. You know that. And the official partner of the NFL and the official wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network is, of course, Fanduel. When you go to fanduel.com/Boston, you get 200 in bonus bets when you bet 5. What does that mean, Jimmy? Free money.
Yeah, 200 bonus bets.
The Patriots, by the way, this is the biggest trap I've ever seen. It started at 12.5 at Miami, went down to 10.5, which still seems high. You're a Patriots fan. You're like, oh, they beat the Bills. They're coming back. They're going to be good. They're going to make it.
Hammer them.
Hammer the Pats. And then you see Miami has struggling against Philly. Like, they're not so good. Tua stinks. And people are going to hammer the Pats at 10-5 here. And Miami's going to win by 130 points. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not sniffing that.
Gotta say, though, that the Bills were a slam dunk last week, so I'd just stay away from the Pats.
Yeah. But anyway,
the Pats,
check it out.
Even when the Pats are good, they can't win in Miami. Why the hell would they be anywhere near?
Ever. FanDuel.com/Boston. Once again, 200 bonus bets. That means just free money coming your way. Free bonus bets, non-refundable bonus bets, but you can play around with them, mess around, lose that Pats bet, but then come back strong and do something sensible and take advantage of that. Also, if you want to be a little bit smarter about your gambling, you can go to Odds Are. It's not a sports book, but it's a tool that will make you a smarter, better. oddsr.com/Celtics. You get a 30-day free trial when you download that app. You have to go to oddsr.com/Celtics. Uses AI, machine learning to come up with, smart reasons why you should put your money where you're putting it. Green means go. Yellow means, do it if you really feel it.
Yellow means speed up. Beat the red.
Do not. Yep. Yellow means go.
Yeah.
So check that out once again.
Oddsr.com/Celtics
30-day free trial. Oddsr.com.
By the way, speaking of odds, I caught it a week ago and it surprised me. Celtics were only 2.5 tomorrow. Now they're up to 3.5, which is probably a little more fair, but thought it'd be a little bigger in their favor.
Yep.
Knicks might play them tough tomorrow. We'll see.
It's a road game. It's a lot of emotion going in. Madison Square Garden. The place is going to be rocking. You never know. These first games are.
Let's get into a couple more. Bobby likes Banton to be the surprise backup wing here. So this kind of plays off of my Hauser thing. I mean, those minutes got to come out of Hauser's end, right?
Yeah, and he's got to hit shots, right, to narrow that gap, which has been a massive challenge for him.
Yeah,
he hasn't even come close to 30%. So, Joe's couched his praise of him a little bit.
It's the shooting that worries me there.
Yeah,
but
you're looking
for
consistency.
But he plays some backup point, too.
Yeah. So
that's where I see him getting some minutes there when you're worried about it being Pritchard and you want a little more length because he's coming in at 6'7".
And granted, preseason, but in that Knicks game on the road against the Knicks starters, he played quite a few minutes with starting caliber players on the Celtics, mixed in well. He's talked about how he showed up a month or two early to learn this offense and all the screening motions. And he's really trying to be a guy who frees up other players with the way he moves on the court. Nice cutter. Again, he's just going to get better at finishing at a higher rate, both inside and out, but can defend in a bunch of different schemes. He obviously played pretty much every defense up there in Toronto. One thing always catches my eye every camp, John. Last year it was Derek shooting. This year I've really had my eye on Banton here. I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I've liked what I've seen, and Joe has really praised him, which sticks out to me.
Yep. Moving on to Sherrod. Sherrod thinks Celtics top 5 in offense and defensive rating. Sherrod, you do not think the defense slips despite losing Smart and despite losing Rob?
No, I felt that it would when it would appear as though that they were just going to run it back with Derek White as like the premier perimeter defender. But adding Drew Holiday, to me, is a domino effect.
How about number one? Number one in both?
Hell no.
That'd be bold.
Hell no. Phoenix Suns.
Okay. Yeah, they're going to score a ton of points.
They're going to, and they're not defending. So, they're not going to be number one. I could see the Celtics number one defensive rating. I could see that.
I see that too, yeah.
I just think the Celtics are just going to be very impactful at both ends of the floor because they got the kind of personnel that takes a tremendous amount of pride at both ends of the floor. They've got guys who love to score. We've seen them for a few years now. Now they've got guys who can defend at a high level and impact the game at that end of the floor. And that's not just something that they want to do. It's something that they have to do. It's in their DNA. And that's why they're going to be one of the top 5 teams in both of those categories.
Okay. Jimmy likes Al Horford to knock down 50%
of
his threes this year. 50%.
If he takes 2 of them, he's going to make 1.
50. He's going to be parked at the 3-point line starting tomorrow, and he may never leave. He might not take a 2-point shot.
I love that part of your prediction.
It's true. Why does he have to? He's not going to ever have to leave. He's not going to ever have to even look at the paint. He's going to be wide open. Here you go.
Oh, you said it. You guarantee he never takes a 2-point shot again. Ever
for the rest of his career. It's a bold prediction, boys, but I'm pretty confident. But just look at the difference. We've mentioned it past seasons, but he's just completely changed his game. What did I say? Our first 7 years of his career, he took a total of 29 3-pointers. Last year alone, he took 325. It just goes to show you how he's adjusted and adapted to today's NBA game, and that's why he's still playing basketball today. When there are other big men in the league aren't, and they can't, and they never will again. So credit to him, but he doesn't have to. I'm obviously exaggerating, but the way the Celtics are going to be out there, he's going to be the guy that's being left open. If he's out there with the rest of the, let's say the 4 other starters are out there and him. What are they going to do? Leave Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, and Holiday? No. Leave White? Right. No. How Alfred's going to be standing in the corner, stretching the court. And he's going to get the ball in a nice kick out. He's going to hit the corner 3 50% of the time. That's my prediction.
Another reason you might want to start him.
You might. But he can do that off the bench. It doesn't matter who's out there. He can still do that.
Okay. I'm throwing out one of mine. Celtics start hot, like 21-5 hot, like last year, and start to fade. They fade. Why?
Why? Because you are John Zannis.
Uh-huh.
Because you are John Zannis, and that's just a classic bold prediction by you.
Yeah, it's a jerk. I'm a jerk.
Why do they fade? What, scheduling or something?
Boredom.
In-season tournament.
Boredom.
Best team
in
season. How did
you get bored
this year?
Not close. They came in serious. They're focused. Best team in the NBA and play like it. They'll get bored, and they will drive us insane. And there's going to be a lot of "we need to" quotes spoken in the post game. Fans will somehow blame.
Will there be a traffic excuse?
Yeah.
Please don't let that happen again.
Fans will blame Marcus Smart and look to trade him.
True.
I don't actually know whether that's true or not. I'm only throwing it out there for the purpose of this discussion.
Sure.
Like, this is the Joe kind of portion of things. I don't know what's going to happen with Joe, but I do wonder, like, they might roll people. They might get bored. You might get stuck.
The early season schedule isn't that tough.
It's not tough. It's an easy ramp up. And I feel like it's going to be like just a 3-point, Boston Tea Party at the Garden. By the way,
Let's go.
like bringing this one up, by the way, this is Amit's first graphic that he made for us.
Oh, that's legendary. I love that.
I like it. The old one.
We'll be bringing that up. We'll be bringing that up.
But I still think they rebound, play well in the last 20 games, and everybody gets their whatever back. But I think we're going to have a little maddening period in the middle, that soft middle, where everyone's going to be like, what is going on with these guys? Get to the Jays. Something's going to happen there where it's going to get frustrating because I can't believe they're going they're not going to win 70 games, are they? Are they going to go start to finish and win 67 games? Here's the problem is,
I don't know. I don't know if they have that killer.
They won 57 games last year, and it was a maddening season, right? Annoying as hell because they got off to that start. Then they were mid for 40 games, just like kind of this one. Do you see them winning 60-something games? Because if they have a season like last season, it's going to be annoying.
They've reflected on this a little bit, John,
what do you got,
too.
Jimmy?
It's and it'll be a good thing. It'll be better than the alternative.
Yeah. And that's a good thing, and here's why.
But it would have been a good thing, and I was right about Kemba.
We don't know that for sure, but
yeah.
They've talked a lot about this, John. Right?
I'm kidding. It's a good conference. There will be competition. A lot of it has to do with the schedule as well. It's not that easy.
If
you have Al Horford sits back-to-backs, if you have load management, even though you're not allowed to have load management games, you could run into some problems, some difficulties there as well.
Who's going to give you problems in the East? Bucks, obviously. The Knicks are going to be kind of feisty. The Heat are always there. We're talking about the same tems. Who else?
The Bulls are going to beat you as always.
Sixers aren't even going to field a freaking roster this year. What? Who?
No, it's a relatively weak conference. You have a handful of layups here, too. And John, they've reflected on this. It's why they're instituting new defenses. It's why they have a lot of different looks that they can go to offensively now. Joe pretty much said it. They got stale last year after that 21-5 stretch, and they really didn't have much else that they could go to. The shooting, I think, made them a little one-dimensional. And he's even talked about shaking that up. More transition, more aggressiveness on defense to force steals. And they'll do some post-ups too. Tatum, ton of post-ups in the preseason. Porzingis, obviously a lot of talk about that coming in. And Holiday is going to post up too. So they have different things they can go to this year that I think will lend itself to more consistency during the regular season.
Yep. We're going to throw in one more. We talk about.
Do I have any left?
But I'm going to fold your last one into something else. Where's the last one I wanted to throw out there? Talk about Zannis playing the hits. I'm rolling one back from last year, Bobby. We can't not have a Cornette one.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Cornette has more DNP CDs than games played.
Bobby's crying. Look what you made him do.
I don't think that's gonna happen, and it didn't last year. By the way, it
did
wrong.
Not.
Wow.
I talked to Luke the other day.
Yeah, how would that go?
A lot of confidence, a lot of assuredness. He's not worried about the competition. He thinks, he's going to continue to do what he does, add on low layers, more aggressiveness off the ball, the rebounding, and try to do a better job with that. But what he does helped this team last year when he played. And he's matchup dependent, of course. So I, like many others, do have worries about the bench depth if they have an injury. But if everyone's healthy, Cornette can give you those 8 to 12 minutes off the bench.
Yeah.
I didn't say MVP.
All right.
Yeah.
We're done messing around, right? We're done?
We're done.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to put this one in. I'm going to transition from Jimmy. This was one of Jimmy's. Jaylen Brown is your mother effing NBA Finals MVP, which means
finally.
Suck it, Brown haters. Suck it, Brown haters.
Which means Jimmy is predicting this.
That's a fact. I am. I said it at the top of the show.
Suns.
Yeah, toss the Suns in there, switch it up. But I think the Celtics, again, I'm not going to repeat myself for the next 5 minutes, but they're built to win a championship. It would be foolish of me to not, therefore, predict that they win the championship. And honestly, they should feel the pressure. They should feel the heat from everybody because this team is the best constructed it's been in years. Their star players are at the point in their careers where they are mature enough now to know how to play the game, to know what's important, to want to win a championship. They've dealt with the heartbreak of being right there multiple times and blowing it. They now have players on their team who are hungry to win, and they have players on the team who have won and know what it takes to win. So they're a veteran team. They have championship aspirations, so I'm taking them over the Suns. The Suns are stacked, by the way, out in the West. We don't have to worry about the West as much, but it's either Denver, Phoenix. I mean, those are my two frontrunners out West, so I just toss the Suns in there. And I think it'll be a super entertaining series, but I'm going to go with the Celtics and final answer. And if I'm wrong, that's not a me problem. That's a Celtics problem. I should be right here. If they're wrong, don't watch that show. Do not watch the show where they're eliminated. Do not watch that show.
Don't watch it. We're moving to Sherrod. Yeah. Champ, 6 games. Who's your opponent, Sherrod?
Aha.
We've got the Phoenix Suns.
My teammate. It's my quarterback. Great mind, Sherrod.
A lot of love for the Suns here.
What's that?
A lot of love for the Suns.
Well, I just think once you get to the postseason, I don't think there are teams out West that collectively defend well enough to be able to contain and corral Beal, Booker, and Durant. I don't think so. They're too damn lethal. And to the point that John made earlier about Jaylen Brown not making All-NBA, I could see Devin Booker being in that boat too. A guy that averages maybe instead of 26, 27 points, maybe averages 22, 23, and maybe averages 6, 7, 8 assists.
No, he's a killer. He's a killer.
He is, but my gut tells me he's going to defer to some degree to Bradley and to KD.
That'd be a tough matchup for Boston. Team that really spaces you out. I know they got the big center, but they can go small probably and try to get Porzingis off the court. That's going to be a question when the time comes, is how matchup proof is Porzingis' defense? Because, it's a long time ago now, but 2020, Lillard was stepping right into those threes, and he really couldn't do anything about it.
True.
Yeah. I'm, it's.
All right, me and Sherrod both have them as champions. Who's next?
I'm not sure. Let's see who's next. Oh my God!
Whoa!
Not Zannis.
Zannis picking them to win the whole thing too.
I can't see the Warriors there.
Warriors.
Yeah, what's up with that?
The last stand.
What year is it?
It's the last stand of the Warriors. Okay, calls to split up the Jays will be deafening when the Celtics go down 3-2 to the Miami Heat in round 1. They rally, take that series. Finals rematch with Golden State featuring starting center Robert Williams, acquired in a deadline deal with Portland. I'm unable to watch or cover any games due to my
Brogdon will be on the Heat.
Weeks later, people tell me the Celtics won. I don't know how to feel.
Yeah, that's actually pretty accurate.
So everybody's picking the Celtics here.
That's it. That's what I'm picking the Celtics.
Well, wait.
And obviously, yeah.
We got one more. Where's Bobby's?
Oh, I mean, it has to be. Let me see.
Everyone's picking the Celtics.
It's got to be a clean sweep, right? Bobby pissed. Wow, my God, Bobby!
Whoa, what? What? Bobby, you've outdone yourself. You have to go, Bobby. Now you have to go the whole year cheering against the Celtics. Congratulations.
Well, not the whole year. June.
Okay, we'll see you in June.
This Nuggets team is really good. You saw it again tonight. Jokic, there's still levels to this. Tatum's got to get closer to that level. He doesn't have to become Jokic, but there's going to be a load of a matchup if it comes to it. I think we all would have picked Nuggets last year. I know different teams and all that if that's what it came to, but they're the team to beat. They should be. I'm surprised they're not the favorites on FanDuel, but I got to see it, Jimmy. Right before you got on the show here, I said I just have a little bit of pause here, and I don't know why. Maybe because it's just been all positives through camp, and there's got to be something that this team has to overcome. They're not just going to roll through the league. And when things get tight late in games, right in the playoffs, we still have to see this team come through. They had a lot of talent last year, Jimmy. Talent was an issue. It was the 2 stars getting it done when the time
Execution was an issue.
Yep.
And I think they've done what they can to address that. That's my reasoning for it changing. Now, you're right, Bobby. We all need to still see it. I mean, halfway through the year, I reserve the right to completely change my pick if they suck. But this is my bold prediction right now, based on what I've seen and based on the way the roster is constructed. I'm riding with this Celtics team. They are. It's their.
I love
You
these,
know,
I love
they
these
can,
comments.
if they choose to disappoint, then they choose to disappoint. But that's where I'm going with it.
Bobby, turn in your credentials
Their
and turn in
season
your
to lose.
badge. You
This
do
is
not
why-
love this. You do
Yeah.
not love the Celtics enough
Give me
to
those
cover
pom
this team.
poms.
This
You
is
do
why the Horford jersey came down, I guess.
Trade your pom poms in once and for all. Okay, you are not qualified.
Those are for you and Jimmy when you
to
go
do
to the
this
game.
job. I know.
That's what happens to Bobby.
You know
now.
which
See,
game I'm?
see
You know which
Bobby's
game I got tickets to?
Is it Denver?
Marcus.
Good choice.
Bobby's jaded now. He's
I
a
didn't-
reporter.
yeah.
He's jaded. He's picking them. He thinks they're going to lose. He thinks they're going to fold under pressure.
I'm a big softie underneath all of this bullshit.
By the
Yeah.
way,
John literally picked that game so he could boo Marcus's return. If you hear any boos in the crowd, John
no, you
literally.
got to
One
go interview
guy.
him, John. He
You
might
ever see The
recognize
Office
you.
where Michael Scott goes to the play, where he goes to see? Anyone watch The Office?
Yeah,
No?
I've watched
Nobody?
him, but I don't remember that. Yeah,
He
man.
went to go see a performance of Sweeney Todd where he didn't get a call back for the lead, and this guy's giving this great performance, and there's only one guy booing at the end. It's Michael. That's gonna be me at Marcus. No.
Totally.
But no. I'm going to that fan time, and the Nuggets.
You'll be down
games.
in Memphis too next month.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Covering
sabotage the
first
video. I'm gonna
game
be in the
against
back.
Walking in
pulling the plugs.
Memphis. Yeah.
By the way, if you're in New York, Josue and I will be on the streets tomorrow looking to interview fans. Keep an
Oh,
eye
that
out.
should be fun.
Maybe some Celtics
careful.
fans right here. We'll hear from the Knicks fans. See if the league's scared of Boston. And then we'll have the game for you out here. Post game, all the rest.
What street you going to be on?
We'll be around MSG. They're shooting around there in the morning, so we'll just pop outside and see if we see any Knicks jerseys. Any
New
Celtics
Yorkers can be
jerseys.
tough, Bobby. Be careful out there, you and Josue.
I know.
You say the
Yeah, we
wrong
don't have a-
thing.
Too bad we don't have Vomit looking out for us.
Yeah, so
Security.
that's it. Bobby did it. Couldn't pull the trigger. It was close.
Bobby.
No, I have some pause, right? And
Bobby-
I got to see them get it done. I have a lot
Bobby
of
Bold.
confidence in this team, but
Well,
the
walk it
Nuggets-
back.
the Nuggets are. I think people are overlooking them again a little bit somehow.
I don't think so.
They
they're
rolled
just
to the
in
title
Denver.
last year. They're just the champions.
They played great team basketball last year, and
I mean, they beat the Heat 4-1, right?
Yeah, but the Heat weren't any good. They just
They were
beat
better
up
than
on
the
a lot
Celtics.
weaker team. They weren't. They just beat up on a mentally weaker team. Talent wise, they weren't.
Fair
that
enough.
Good. I think we all saw, I would say, 3/4 of the way through the year. I know I did because that's when I put my futures bet on Denver, that they were playing very connected basketball. And that's what got them through the playoffs and ultimately a title because they were playing as a team. Celtics do need to still prove to do that, Bobby. You are correct.
Raise your hand if you predicted at the beginning of the season that the Nuggets were the team.
Was it you?
Yep.
I don't know if I did, but
That was my team, the Nuggets.
was it?
Yes. I
Did you
like the
think I had a
Nuggets.
Did you win any
Finals
money
rematch.
on them though?
No, I don't do that.
Scared money don't make none.
I know. No, but the Nuggets, I liked them early on. I thought they'd pull it all together. I mean, but they still actually got a level higher than I thought that they were going to get. And
They were
looked
unreal.
really good, really connected.
Jokic's
But like,
playoffs were all time.
I mean, it's. Have you ever? Like I know everyone like freaks over MVP debates. Have you ever seen one? I've never seen an MVP race like this. Everyone was like, Embiid deserves it. Embiid deserves it. Embiid deserves it. He's a worthy guy. And then like as soon as he won, everyone's like, Jokic is obviously the best player in the league by far, right? Like
Right.
it's like then all of like the ratings came out about who the best players are, and like Jokic just won, and Embiid like lost a few spots.
People
Like,
got bullied out of voting for
They got
Jokic.
bullied out of voting for Jokic. And again, I always said like, let's, in year 1, year 2, I'm like, I don't know, man. Giannis, like I know that Jokic has the metrics, but Giannis is like the best offensive and best defensive player. Is it really that big a slam dunk? Last year was probably the biggest slam dunk of all for Jokic, and he didn't win it. But then you just watch him, and you're like, he just does everything. He's miles ahead of everybody out there. It's amazing to watch it. It's just He's unbelievable.
He had what tonight?
So he's your
Another-
MVP prediction, John, is Jokic, it sounds like.
It has to. Jokic will win just because everyone will be like, yeah, we should have given it to him last year.
John, 29, 13, and 11 tonight.
I know.
And he does that every night.
Every night.
What,
Again,
what was the final score? What did LeBron do tonight?
He had
21, 8, and 5.
Yeah, pretty good.
Still doing
Lost by 12.
Yeah, that's class.
Denver's going to be there, I think. I don't know about Warriors and Suns. We'll see.
He's crazy. Anyway, we're good.
Well,
like
Warriors and Suns are playing right now.
We're back at it tomorrow. Go check out the Warriors. So you see all
7
three of
o'clock
our-
tomorrow, by the way. A little bit of an earlier tip-off.
which is
Oh,
good.
wow.
We'll be here immediately after the game, so make sure you check us out, CLNS Media. Follow us on all of our social channels. Here we go. Ready to go. 1 of 82 starts
Hey.
tomorrow.
Welcome back, fellas.
Let's get it.
Let's do it. Another one
Thank
in
you,
the
guys. Yep, let's do it. We'll see you guys all tomorrow. You and many, many more. Tell all your friends. Let's get it
Tell your
rolling.
friends. Tell your
Night one.
girlfriends.
Thank you, guys.